The spate of marital conflicts, marital abuse, and all manner of domestic violence in the homes these days, it has become very endemic. It has become so prevalent in homes all over the whole world that it's almost becoming like a norm. Go to all the courts today, you will find all manner of cases of marital abuse, all manner of cases of abandonments, of separations, of divorces, all kinds of complaints. These are couples that started their marriage on the foundation of joy, excitement, positive expectations, and suddenly, out of the blues, the devil came calling, and all the wonderful promises have been truncated. But after this morning, you will learn how to avoid such conflicts. You will learn how to avoid misunderstandings with your partner, especially when it has become incessant, when it has become like a common occurrence. If you can only but follow some of the things I'm going to mention here today, it will bring a lot of joy. It will restore a lot of confidence in your marital life. Once again, my name is Felix Okeke. I'm your marriage counselor and coach, and this is Marriage Without Tears. If you have not subscribed to this channel, I want you to do so right away, especially if you're a married couple that desires to see success, that desires to see progress, that desires to see bliss in their marriage and family life. This is your channel. So subscribe right away. This particular button, this red button by my side, is the subscribe button. Just click on it and get subscribed. Let us together be part of this wonderful move. I'm going to give us seven things you must do to make sure that conflicts or quarrels, incessant quarrels does not arise in your home. It never occurs anymore. Now, one of them, the very first one I'm going to mention is you must cut off every emotional ties with your parents and siblings. The moment your marriage is consummated, that's the first thing you need to do. In life, we all start life as dependent people. We depend on our parents for every manner of sustenance. We depend on them for money, we depend on them for upkeep, we depend on them for advice, we depend on them for all manner of things. For as long as we are under their covering, under their shade, of course, we depend on them for all manner of things. But as time goes on, the moment you begin to mature in life, and you have inputs from society, inputs from your educational background and all that, you begin to mature, and then other things begin to come up. Before you know it, you move from the position of dependence to a position of independence, a position where you begin to think your own thoughts, begin to possibly make your own money, begin to form your own associations and all that. And then from that foundation, of course, you move to a place of interdependence. That's when you begin to look forward to associating with somebody that share a common goal, a common value, a common principle, somebody you can walk the path of life with. That is when we reach out to bring in a woman, a man into our lives. It's a place of interdependence. Now, when you have attained that height, you need to remain at that height so that it's not when you have a problem in your home, then suddenly you move from a place of interdependence, when you should share ideas, when you should sit back with your spouse and look at things critically and objectively and be able to come out with wonderful solutions. Instead of doing that, then you start going back to your place of dependence to seek counsel from your parents, to seek counsel from your siblings. We have had several cases of meddlesome in-laws in relationships that has antagonized so many homes. If you want your home to be an exemplary home, then of course, when it comes to counsel, especially in the area of marriage, don't go to your siblings, don't go to your parents, because they are not married to your partner. They don't know his or her character, they don't know his or her values, they don't know much about him. So whatever they are going to give you, even in their best of intentions, will always not be too objective. I will advise that if you have a problem that has to do with your marriage, you look for a marriage counselor, somebody who is skilled in the art of providing solutions to marital problems. This is the way to go. Don't go about looking for your parents. It will do more damage to your relationship. So the very first thing you do, cut off every emotional ties from your parents and from your siblings. You form a bond with your partner and know that this journey is a journey that is just between both of you and God. So this is the way to walk. This is how to go about it. And if you do that, a lot of the antagonisms, a lot of the quarrels, a lot of the arguments that will come from that side will simply die a natural death. The second thing you must do is that you must begin to see your marriage from a positive mindset, a positive perspective. Always see your marriage from a positive angle. Don't always see the rot in your marriage. What that means is that you need also to begin from now henceforth to see the strength of your spouse, not the weakness, the strength of your spouse. If you can only focus on that and always see the good side of your marriage, then of course, certain arguments will die its natural death. You must begin to realize that though your husband or your wife may be wrong on a particular area or on a particular matter, on a particular suggestions, that it does not mean that they are the wrong people. Rather, they have wrong opinions and wrong suggestions. So begin to see your marriage and your partner from a very positive mindset. If you do that, some of the troubling, some of the quarrels you used to have will just die its natural death. This is the way to go. And of course, the third one that you must do if you must see your marriage, attain that height where quarrels and arguments become a thing of the past. You must begin to sow into your love account. Make your love account perpetually green. What do I mean by that? It simply means those things that you have been doing that actually won over your spouse, that make him or her consider you out of all the men, out of all the women upon the face of the earth, that made them to consider you as a choice partner. Those things that endeared you to them, continually do them. Continually sow into them, continually do them, and as you do so, joy will come into your life. Joy will come into that marriage. Always look at what you can do to make your marriage better. Always look at attitudes, look at character traits, look at things you can bring into your union to make it better. If you can only do that, if your heart concept, if your heart concern is simply how to make your relationship better, you will not raise a voice against your husband. You will not raise a voice against your spouse. You will always watch. If by any reason you see anger coming into your union, or you see your man or your woman raise his or her voice, then of course you should stem down. You should not meet anger with anger, because there is something joyful ahead. There is a bigger picture. Let me tell you a story. There was a day my son was watching me, and I was discussing with the mother, and suddenly the mother raised a voice against me. As a matter of fact, she used a very derogatory term. But instead of returning insult for insult, I got up from the seat quietly and went into the inner room. My son that was present at the time got up immediately and came to me and said, "Daddy." I said, "What?" He said, "Daddy, is this marriage?" I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "Daddy, is this marriage? Is this actually marriage?" I said, "What do you mean, son?" He said, "Daddy, that my mom, I was watching my mom raise a high voice against you. I was watching her say some bad things against you. Instead of responding, you simply got up quietly, smiled, and walked into the room. Is this how marriage is done?" I laughed, I smiled, I said, "Son, what you have just witnessed is marriage. This is how marriage is done." You must begin to look at the bigger picture, not the shorter one. Look at the bigger picture. Don't look at the smaller picture. Look at the bigger picture. I said, it is because I was looking at the bigger picture that I smiled and walked away. I was looking at your happiness, my son. I was looking at the happiness of my children, and I will know that happiness will be hurt sincerely if I raise a voice, or if both of us raise voices against one another, and then anger flare up. I may slap her, I may pluck off her teeth, and then it does serious damage to you as the son. It does serious damage to your own emotional well-being. I look at those things, I look at them. It is the bigger picture. The smaller picture is the picture where you walk in tantrums and anger and you begin to destroy things, and at the end of the day you ruin your marriage. So begin to look at the bigger picture. Begin to look at the bigger picture. If you can only look at the bigger picture, some of the things you are contending with now that seem to be a challenge to you, it will just die its natural death. I can assure you that. By the way, if you have not subscribed to this channel, I want you to do so right now by clicking that button and get subscribed, even as we go to the fourth one. Number 4, we must learn to build one another's self-esteem. It is very, very important because in the course of life, especially with the challenges of daily living, there come a time when a man's esteem may be hurt, when a woman's esteem may be terribly damaged for one reason or the other, either for reasons of economics or lack of spiritual depth. Something may happen to our self-esteem that we may become doubtful about ourselves. We may become doubtful about the lives of our spouses or the kind of life our children are living, or we may become doubtful about circumstances around us. Even the job situation can bring a lot of low turn in terms of self-esteem. It is necessary that a man or a woman in marriage must know how to build the self-esteem of their partner. Know when to encourage, know when to motivate, know when to add value, know when to bring life on light to that dead issue, to that terrible situation. In times of pain, in times of reproach, in times when esteem is down, it is necessary for you to know how to be the light in that situation. It is necessary for you to know how to make your spouse smile again. Don't let him or her go down with all these discouragements around. It is necessary for you to do that. If you fail to do that, that person may degenerate from that level where he or she now. It may get worse until you find cases of depression. If you go to some of the psychiatric hospitals today, you discover that the cases of maniac, the cases of depressive people, it's becoming more. It's on the increase. And that is because they didn't have somebody to recall to, somebody to go back to, somebody to open up to, and in the process, the person became depressive. There have been cases of people who took their own lives because their partner, who was supposed to be a source of succor and comfort, was, of course, the opposite side, was the one who is always challenging and tormenting, until it came at a time when the person decided to take his or her own life. It ought not to be so. As a partner in marriage, learn to study, to know your spouse, so that when situations, when the emotions and psychology change, then you will know when to step in and add value and bring that kind of feeling to an end. That is what you ought to do. And of course, what is the fifth thing to do? If you must end the spirit of quarrels that is damaging other homes so that it doesn't encroach on your own home, you must check your associations. That is the fifth point I want to raise here. You must check your associations. Who are the people around you? There is something that the Bible said in Proverbs chapter 13 verse 20. It says, he that moves with the wise shall become wise, but the companion of fools are quickly destroyed. If you are always in the wrong company, and you believe that you are the righteous person among them, I can tell you it's only a matter of time before the advices encroach on you and take over your life. So you must watch out for people that are around you. Who are the people feeding you advice? Who are the people counseling you? Who are the people sharing opinions with you? Who are the people that are telling you, I cannot take that from my husband. If my husband does that, I can't take that from him. Go and check very well. Who are those people? Who are the people that are telling you, I can't take that nonsense from my wife? If you go to their homes, you may discover that they are taking even worse nonsense than you can imagine. So you must check the people you associate, people around you. People around you. The Bible also says in Proverbs 27 verse 17, or is it 17 to 17? It says, iron sharpeneth iron, and a man sharpens the countenance of his friends. So who is sharpening you? You must be aware of that. Because if you move with the wrong people and you carry the wrong habits into your marriage, it will destroy you and it will destroy your home. One thing will lead to the other. Before you know it, it becomes compounded. Before you know it, you are falling out. Before you know it, you are out there in the cold. It ought not to be so. So check your associations. For everyone that is not going the same way you are going, for everyone that is not walking in righteousness around you, cut them off for your own life and for the life of your marriage. Very, very important indeed. Many marriages have crumbled because of wrong association. It ought not to be yours. And of course, what is the sixth one that you must do? If you must make sure, if you must cut off any manner of conflict from your relationship and see your relationship work well, the next thing you must do is that you must, I'm talking of number 6, you must keep a rein on your anger. Anger by itself is not a bad thing. There is what we call righteous anger. When you are righteous over sin around you, over despicable things happening around you, can be angry about it, and you can do something to create a change. That is positive anger. But then there are some damaging anger. The kind of anger that is destructive. The kind of anger that is fault-finding. The kind of anger that criticizes without providing solutions. The kind of anger that is nitpicking. The kind of anger that is always looking for the fault lines. The kind of anger that is condemning instead of redeeming. So you must watch over your anger. That kind of anger must be watched over. Don't let it go. Don't let the sun go down on your anger. That's what the scripture says. So watch over your anger. Keep a rein over it. Keep a rein over it. If you're a man or a woman in marriage, you need patience. You need tolerance, knowing fully well that it is possible for your spouse or your partner to be, not to share the same opinion with you sometimes. But that does not mean that they are the wrong people. That does not mean that it's a wrong wife or a wrong husband. That does not mean that you have married the wrong person. No, it's simply a conflict of opinion. If you can prefer a better opinion and it becomes convincing to him or her, there's a tendency that both of you can still work together as one. So keep a rein on your anger. Don't allow your anger to take you to a place of domestic violence and beating your spouse and throwing tantrums and destroying things that cost you a lot of money to buy. Just keep a rein on your anger. If you can only do that, your marriage will receive the kind of peace that God promised you from the beginning. Once again, have you subscribed to this channel? Click that button and get subscribed. I'm enjoying this. I hope you are enjoying it. I'm going to number 7 and the final point. The final point I want to raise here is that you must make up your mind to be teachable. That's number 7. Make up your mind to be teachable. Open up yourself to positive communication. Be teachable. Openly communicate with one another. Very, very important. Communication that is positive. Communication that edifies. Make up your mind to receive from your spouse. Make up your mind to listen. Make up your mind to not to be argumentative. Make up your mind right now. Know that both of you are in a faith walk, in a walk. Both of you are in a lifetime investment and lifetime assignment. Make up your mind to always listen to one another, to be taught, and to also to teach. So make up your mind. Positive communication in marriage is very important. If your spouse have done anything to hurt you, look for the right time. Look for the right atmosphere. Look for the right time, right timing, right atmosphere, so that you can sit down and discuss it like matured people. Don't raise your voice against your husband or against your wife in the midst of your children. Don't do that. If you do that, you'll be sowing a terrible seed that in future these children will take sides and will be tired if they have taken the side of your spouse. Because I know these children, most of them will take the side of the person that is being trampled upon. So please, this is a marriage. And I look forward to you enjoying this marriage. I look forward to you fulfilling God's purpose for your life within the concept of this union. And I thank God that He has brought you thus far. Please receive grace to go the distance. And as you do so, may the Lord bless you. I look forward to seeing you next week in another wonderful topic. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.